Do you think I'm spooky?
Be afraid. Be very afraid. What have you done to its eyes?
Good evening, and welcome to Soft and Spooky. For today's video, I'm going to be diving into my thoughts on the 6th installment of the Scream franchise. I'm going to go ahead and have my spoiler-free thoughts at the beginning of this video so that if you were contemplating seeing the movie, you can still get my feel for it without spoiling anything. But then in the second half of the video, I'm going to give you plenty of heads up, and I will be kind of elaborating on my thoughts on everything with spoilers included, because there's quite a few things that I need to talk about. But yeah, without further ado, let's sink our teeth in. Scream 6 follows the 4 survivors of the most recent Ghostface killings that occurred in Woodsboro. We have a returning cast of Sam Carpenter, who is played by Melissa Barrera, as well as her little sister Tara, who is played by Jenna Ortega. We also have the siblings from the Meeks lineage. There is Mindy, who is played by Jasmine Savoy Brown, and her brother Chad.
Is it the Chad?
Chad is played by Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, Mason Gooding. So all of the kids have actually moved to Manhattan to attend Blackmore University, and Sam has gone ahead and tagged along just to keep a watchful eye over her sister. The core 4 survivors are joined by some new friends.
Everybody's a suspect!
There's Mindy's girlfriend Annika, who wears literally the cutest outfits in this entire movie. We also have Tara's roommate Quinn, who basically every time she's on screen, she's just going to Bone Town. We also have a neighbor named Danny, who is like kind of Sam's new guy or hookup, and he's kind of got a bad case of the evil red herring face. And then rounding out the newbies, we have Ethan, who is Chad's shy roommate that 100% looks like Evan Peters in Sleepover.
You want to see a picture of me in a coma?
Okay. So things start to go downhill when there are some new Ghostface killings that actually this time are trying to implicate Sam in the murders. These new Ghostface killings, of course, like a bat signal, they signal Gale Weathers to come circling the latest Ghostface corpse like the buzzard she is. What's even better though is that the murders catch the attention of a fan favorite character to return, Kirby! Hayden Panettiere reprises the role as Kirby in this film, and I am just so happy to see her back in the franchise. I loved her in Scream 4. I won't lie, I was cautiously optimistic about this new sequel after seeing the previews. Now, now that I've seen Scream 6 in its entirety, I can report back and safely say that this movie redeemed the last one, man. There's so much to like about Scream 6. One little thing to note, just a little note. When I saw this, it was the middle of the day, and I had the entire theater to myself. The fact that I was in a large, dark room, completely by myself, and the movie is about a serial killer that even killed Maureen in a movie theater in the second movie, I was a little jumpy, if I'm being honest. And I kind of feel like I was the perfect audience to watch this. But I do feel like this movie hit so many things right. I think this time, as opposed to Scream 5, the writers really did a great job bringing authenticity to the dialogue as well as the dynamic between Sam and Tara, because they actually felt like sisters in this movie. Early on in the film, you can see that Sam is overly protective of Tara, and it's pretty understandable. She finds out that Tara's at this frat party, and so she goes there to escort her out after tasing somebody in the balls.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
Tara is understandably pretty frustrated and super embarrassed at the spectacle that Sam created, and she has a really great line that she says to Sam. She says, "I'm not gonna let what happened in 3 days define the rest of my life." And I felt like that was totally realistic. Like for Sam, she's become super paranoid and defensive, and she is seeking out help to try and work through this trauma. Whereas Tara has chosen to not even acknowledge it and not live in the fear of it happening again, but at the same time, she's not really working through it and kind of getting past it at all. I don't know, I feel for both of these sisters because I know that if something like that happened, I would want to hold my family as close as possible. But at the same time, I would want the freedom to live my life the way I intended to. It felt a lot more authentic this time. It also seems like Chad developed a lot in this film. Honestly, I barely remember him from Scream 5, but I feel like he was kind of aggressive and kind of a douche. In this one, he's got a little crush on Tara, and their interactions, eat it up. I loved it. Like, I was straight up having butterflies. Oh man, do I want to admit this? I was having butterflies sitting there watching them flirt, and I was like, oh my gosh, Chad, stop.
I'm so desperately lonely.
Throughout the years, I feel like Scream has been kind of known for its subversions of the expectation and its tense chase scenes, gruesome ghost face kills, and just kind of meta commentary. And I feel like this movie delivers on every single one of those. For the opening scene of this movie, I just was totally floored and taken by surprise. And I feel like as soon as that happened, it just completely cemented my attention for the rest of the movie. There also would be scenes with Ghostface that would end, and I'd let out a big breath and realize that I had been holding my breath that entire chase scene. So it really delivered on that like tenseness and don't cover, run, get out, you know? And so it just, wow, I was just so anxious. I was super on edge the entire time. I even went to like Kohl's afterwards, and everything was startling me. So yeah, they did a great job. I kind of wish that it wasn't revealed in the trailer, but I get why they did it. But the bodega scene is super good for that as well. Like, Ghosty gets a shotty, and I have never seen that in one of the Scream films, and it worked. I was trying to be as quiet as possible, and while they were sneaking around, they were being quiet. Wow. I did kind of feel bad for the shop owner, though. He seemed to try and help them, and he didn't deserve that. Lastly, the kills. I feel like there could have been a few more, or at least the ones that did happen maybe have a little bit more emotional weight to them. But overall, the ones that we got, they were solid. Honestly, I feel like my main criticism of the film, without getting into spoilers, is the ending. I just kind of felt like it was a little bit anticlimactic. I wasn't really impressed with the motive, and I feel like it slowed down the pacing of the film so much more as opposed to the beginning and middle of the movie. I also feel like, I don't know, I'm a little bummed about Kirby. I feel like her lines just, they didn't develop her character in this movie, and it's wild because she was so interesting in Scream 4, and so I don't know. I just kind of felt like she was underutilized in this movie. Overall, I'd say that if you were interested in seeing Scream 6 but were kind of hesitant because of Scream 5, definitely go see this movie. It completely pulled me back in, and it returns to being a fun slasher. The ending is honestly kind of whatever, but the more that I think about this movie, I feel like the ending is getting overshadowed by all that I loved about it. They really hit so many key elements of Scream, and I feel like I can kind of overlook the ending. I'll just skip it the next time I see it. Alright, so that about wraps up the spoiler-free portion of this video. If you guys are interested in seeing the movie, definitely click out now and come back later. I'd love to kind of discuss in the comments after you've seen it. If you did enjoy this video, definitely leave it a thumbs up before you go, and I hope to see you around. Hoo doggy, that opening scene! Oh my gosh. I know that Scream likes to pull out these little tricks whenever they're doing an opening scene to kind of surprise you, but I was not expecting a ghost face reveal in the very first scene. I'm also thankful that he didn't become the ghost face of the film because his motive was honestly kind of stupid, and he gets murdered by an even more intense ghost face. The directors of the movie even said that they just did not want that kind of like silly, pratfalling ghost face from the original films. They wanted this to be basically an unrelenting, terrorizing ghost face, and they definitely succeeded. I also really liked the look of Ghostface in this movie because he's got that grungier mask and kind of reminds me of like other horror character designs where you sort of see the evolution of their evil. And they're just getting grungier and more beat up throughout the movies, and I kind of felt like this was reflected in this movie too. For Ghostface's like robe, smock, cape thing,
Knock it!
I think I read that they added additional sheer material to this to kind of give more of like a wispiness, and I think it works really well. I like the way he looks. You're gonna like the way you look.
You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
There are also some fantastic shots that are just burned into my brain after this movie. The first one I would say is the ladder scene. Just from going apartment window to apartment window, like high up, you get this vertigo-inducing effect, and that was awful. Another shot that was also in the trailer, and for damn good reason, is that shot of Ghostface in between the bookcase, and he wipes off the knife, and there's this light shining up from the bottom. Oh my gosh, like, come on.
Come on!
That just looks so damn cool, and I kind of want it like framed on my wall or something. This movie is also filled to the brim with Easter eggs. That's something that I love about the Scream franchise is like, you know the phrase, he's a man's man. Basically, Scream is a horror fan's horror movie. There's just always something fun for somebody that's a huge fan of horror movies to enjoy in these movies. There's meta commentary, references, set dressing, and even callbacks to previous films in the franchise. I love it. The fact that this takes place in Manhattan and the first ghost face that we encounter is named Jason. The Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. There also was this name on the side of a building near where Jason's crime scene is, and it was called Elm Court, which Wes Craven created Scream, and he also created Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh. Be cool, guys.
And then you get the subway scene, where it is basically a smorgasbord of Easter eggs with all of the Halloween costumes in the background. My personal favorite costume was the Babadook in the background, because in Scream 5, Tara even talks about how Babadook is a elevated horror film, and it was a nice callback. There apparently was also somebody on the subway that was dressed as Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls. And if you don't know, Mojo Jojo was voiced by Roger L. Jackson, who is also the voice of the iconic Ghostface.
I know. Hold on, Fuzzy. There's someone on the other line.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Dude, I could geek out for a while here, but I'm gonna move forward. I can't wait until this comes out on streaming so I can kind of just like pause frame by frame and look at all the references, because like a kid in a candy store, it's awesome. As I said before in the spoiler-free portion, I do feel like there could have been a few more kills, or at least the ones that we got could have been more emotional. But I will say the ones we got were pretty gnarly. The standout ones for me were the therapist kill, Annika's basically two-part death, and Ethan's mouth death. In between films, Sam has been going to different therapists, and her current therapist is named Dr. Stone.
Your mother was no Sharon Stone.
His kill was honestly pretty interesting because he gets like stabbed through the cheek. Like Ghostface breaks through his window door and then stabs him through the cheek. And you actually see his like cheek muscle, or like not the exposed muscle, but you see his like cheek twitch. And then he like blinks and you can see the knife move. And I thought that was really not good, but I thought that was really realistic. Honestly, that's what he gets for trying to kill my girl Grace in Ready or Not. There's also Ethan's stab through the mouth that goes to his throat. Yeah! And Sam is just twisting that blade. It like made my throat sore when I was watching it happen, so good job, effects team. But honestly, I think that the award for worst death goes to Annika. Poor sweet girl. Oh my gosh, why did they do this to her? So she gets stabbed in the abdomen by Ghostface, and then they twist the knife so that the blade is facing up. And guess where they go? They slice her up, and it was so slow. Ooh. But that's the thing. That's not even the full part of her death. Like, she even attempts to cross over the ladder between the two apartments. And Ghostface shakes the ladder as she's going across. And then she falls to the street, but not before just obliterating the side of her head on a dumpster.
This world's fucking so fucked up.
Like, damn, why did they have to go so hard on that poor sweet girl? I really liked her relationship with Mindy. Sad. Okay, and I guess it's time. The big elephant in the room. We gotta talk about that ending. So basically, there's this cop that's helping the survivors because when Ghostface attacks them in the apartment, he ends up killing Quinn, Tara's roommate, who is actually the daughter of the cop. So this inspires the cop to want to take vengeance against Ghostface. But yeah, big plot twist. The cop is actually Ghostface, along with his daughter Quinn and his son Ethan.
What a twist!
Their reasoning is because they want to avenge the death of his other son, Richie.
What?
No!
What?
So Richie was Ghostface in Scream 5, and unfortunately, I can't see him as anybody other than Huey from The Boys.
Huey, Mother's Milk.
That's a nickname?
No, my mother actually named me Mother's Milk.
Did she?
I don't know. I feel like it was so boring because Richie to me was not a standout character in the series. It's like if the killer was revealed to be Mickey's niece, Alexis. Surprise. I'm gonna gut you all like a fish for Uncle Mickey.
Huh?
Mickey, the one that Sydney went to college with?
What?
He taught me these sick dance moves.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, also in the first scene with Chad's roommate Ethan, I immediately thought he was the killer. He's just dressed as this cute little cardboard robot, and Chad is trying to find him a lady.
Where are the babes?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. That's the last clip of Evan Peters from Sleepover, I promise. So I thought, that nervous guy, he's the least suspecting, it's gotta be him. And I ended up being right, which was super underwhelming. Ugh, the acting of these three at the reveal too, it's like something just switched and they all were not good.
Really?
It was just like this caricature of villainy, and they all were like kind of monologuing.
You sly dog! You got me monologuing!
Especially the cop played by Dermot Mulroney. I can't fucking say this guy's name. he made some very interesting acting choices. Like, there was one delivery of a line that straight up made me laugh out loud. He says to Sam, "Now you know the truth. Murder's in your blood." And I don't, blah, I can't even imitate it perfectly. Like, you have to watch it. I don't know why, but it just cracked me up. And it's weird when he experiences the death of Quinn. His acting, I thought, was pretty good. Like, he just kind of breaks down, and I felt like it was believable. So I don't know what happened in this last scene, but yikes. We also find out that Ethan rigged the roommate lottery so that he could room with Chad.
I didn't rig shit!
And even with the motive of trying to find justice for their brother, it just, I don't know, it felt super weak, like the justification for the siblings. Okay, so now that we've talked about the big boy, let's go ahead and dive into the inconsistencies, because there are a few. First up, we got Quinn's death. So when all of the survivors are at the apartment, we have Quinn off screen get totally massacred by Ghostface, and it kicks off this kind of intense attack scene. Afterwards, there are cops on the scene that are investigating the murders, and I assume that they talk to all of the people involved and get everybody's eyewitness accounts. Now, you do even hear that I think one of the cops wants somebody else to make an additional statement or whatever. And so I would assume that everybody has pretty much the exact same story, and they all would agree that Quinn died. So how did the police, after they're interviewing everybody, not bring up that she was alive? Or if the police are under the same impression that she was murdered because of all of these accounts and she ran off before the cops got there, wouldn't they bring up that the body was missing? Because there's no way that the cops would find her and not double check to see if she's alive. Like, how did Quinn's fake death fly under the police radar, especially when her dad is a cop? And, like, you could say maybe it's a conspiracy, like it goes throughout the entire police force, but, like, I don't know.
No, I don't at all. No.
Speaking of fake outs, let's talk about the Meeks and their inconsistent injuries. So when the altercation happens in the apartment, Ghostface slashes Mindy's arm really badly. I found it kind of weird because in this franchise, people will get like stabbed in the gut or the back and they'll still come back swinging. So I was super surprised that with just like an arm slice, Mindy didn't try to help Annika when she was just getting straight gutted by Ghostface. Also later on, when Mindy's trying to climb across the ladder, she really like makes a big deal about how her arm hurts. So I assume that it was a pretty serious wound. But when the survivors are at the hospital afterwards, it's like nothing happened to her arm. So they're all talking and bonding, and so Chad puts his head on Mindy's left shoulder. And I thought, oh, I thought that was the arm that got slashed, but it must be the right arm. But then Tara puts her head on Mindy's right arm. And she doesn't wince. How? If that wound was hurting you so much before, somebody putting weight on it, it also is inconsistent with the fact that she gets stabbed in the stomach a few times, and then at the end of the movie, she comes running up, saying that, oh, I figured out who the killers are. Lady, you should be in the hospital. I did see some reviews mentioning that it was unrealistic that Mindy got stabbed multiple times on a fully packed train and no one noticed. But I actually have to defend the movie here. The bystander effect is a real phenomenon that unfortunately was exemplified in 1964 with the true crime of Kitty Genovese. The 28-year-old bartender was repeatedly assaulted and stabbed in front of her New York City apartment. And there were 37 witnesses. There were 37 witnesses that all assumed somebody else was going to call the police or try to help her. If you ever want an absolutely bleak view of society, I highly recommend checking out the documentary on Amazon Prime called The Witness. So yeah, I personally find Mindy being stabbed in public pretty believable. A thing I absolutely don't find believable is how the hell Chad survived his attack. He literally gets double teamed by two ghost faces just stabbing him repeatedly. Like, I think it was over 20 stabs. And he survived?
Did you miss me?
I guess not.
It does make me wonder if maybe originally the screenwriters did follow through with him dying, but maybe like test audiences saw it and were upset. And so they were just like, just kidding, he's alive, he's fine. It just kind of felt like a cheap fake out. That being said, I was actually happy to see that he survived because I do really like his relationship with Tara, and I want to see them together more. Okay, and then the last inconsistency is Sam and Tara's relationship with Gale. When Gale swoops in after the first couple of murders, Sam is pissed at her. Gale stated in her latest book that Sam is unstable and a natural-born killer. Guess Gale's still doing that same old thing. So when Sam sees Gale, she takes a swing at her, and Gale, it actually did surprise me, Gale dodges the hit, but then Tara comes in with the assist and just socks her right in the face.
Cat fight.
But then what's weird is that when Gale gets attacked in her apartment and gets stabbed, Sam is inconsolable. Like, she's super apologetic and distraught, and she actually has to be pried away from Gale.
Huh?
Why do people let Gale stick around them? Like, why did Sam forgive her so quickly? And I know there are a lot of Gale Weathers fans out there, and I'm not trying to come at you. I think she's an awful human being.
Are you familiar with the phrase, I wrote the book on this?
Shut up!
Okay, and then last little gripe, super minimal. I just wish Kirby would have been more in the action. Her original debut in Scream 4 was just so refreshing and funny, and it was just kind of like a bummer to see her underdeveloped in this movie. That being said, she's alive, so I look forward to seeing her in the next one. I hope I didn't miss anything. I tried to get this video prepared pretty quickly because I know a lot of people are seeing this movie recently, and I just wanted to kind of come on here and talk about my thoughts towards it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to stay soft and spooky. Bye!